session and moving on to council liaison reports. So who would like to start with council liaison reports tonight? Councillor Anderson, we'll draft you.
That would be me. You know, not a lot. I attended the HBA's Housing and Economic Forecast. That was very interesting. The state still needs housing desperately. We're about 80,000 housing units short at this time. And so, you know, it just makes me very proud of Tigard of stepping up and really, you know, playing its part in the region. A lot of cities have slowed down considerably around us. So it's still a call to action. And of course, the UGB is a big issue too with all that going on. Planning Commission has its last meeting this week of the year, and President Feeney's last meeting. So we'll say goodbye to him. He's done a great job. I think that's about it for me. My water consortium deal is done, so somebody else will step in that role next year, and that's it for me.
Well, we're considering or signing it back to you anyway.
Yeah. I have no pull.
All right. Councillor Newton, you ready to go next?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I attended the the last Chamber Good Morning in October, and saw a really good presentation by New Narrative and their mental health services in Tigard. It was really good. I went to the Just Compassion fundraiser, and I attended a couple of the school resource officer community meetings sponsored by the school district, which I think a number of you also attended. The highlight of the last couple of months, though, was the interviews we conducted for board and committee memberships, because we got some incredible people that volunteered to provide services to our various boards and committees, and it was tough to choose, but I was involved in interviews for the Committee for Community Engagement and the Audit and Budget Committee, and so we'll be seeing most of those tonight. Also in November, the Committee for Community Engagement held a meeting, and there was a presentation by staff on the work we're doing on the facilities, the all-in-one facilities plan and everything going on with that project. And Director Robinson and Director Asher were there and presented some of the messaging they're looking at. And so the committee had some good feedback there. And I've been pretty regularly attending the Tigard Youth Advisory Council meetings. Councillor Calderon might have more information on that, but I did attend a presentation they had from NAMI last week, and it was really good. They talked about how teenagers, students, high school students, can be of assistance to each other if they notice one of their friends seems to be struggling with mental health issues. So it was a really good kind of initial training, and I think very well received. Also, Tigard Youth Advisory Council is working on further developing their peer tutoring program. So I've got the annual Metropolitan Area Communications meeting this week, so we'll be looking at the budget. And then I've got a Policy Advisory Board meeting this week for the Community Development Block Grant Program, and we're starting the next cycle for program awards. So that does it for me.
Thank you, Councillor Newton. Council President Goodhouse?
Yes, as Councillor Newton mentioned, a lot of interviews going on. The last little while I did the TTAC interviews and also the TCAC interviews. And during that process for the Town Center Advisory Committee, there wasn't really any business owners. So we reached out to the business owners and got quite an interest of business owners and property owners interviewing. So when that comes back around, we'll have a couple of business owners that'll be on there and a property owner, which will be nice. So we'll have a 4 members on that committee that will be people that will be involved, which would be, I think, a big plus for that committee to be able to have people that are boots on the ground. When I've been doing the liaison reports or attending those meetings, a lot of it is residents who are getting caught up on what's going on in the Triangle or downtown Tigard. But with these people who actually be in there day in, day out, we'll be able to get some additional knowledge as far as what's going on, some more feedback, maybe some ideas of what can be done that we haven't thought about, which I'm looking forward to, especially with the possible of expanding the downtown urban renewal district. It would be nice to know what we need or what can be done in that area. So that's a plus. Attended the Chamber's Christmas event. I think it was last week. Councilor Lube was on there as well. So tried to do that before the council meeting. So that was kind of fun to do that remotely. Usually that happens the same night as the council meeting. So usually can't in the years past attend that. That was a great event. With the National League of Cities got re-upped on the board of directors, and with the League of Oregon Cities, there's a couple committees that it looks like I might be joining, so a little bit more interaction for the city of Tigard on the state level as well. And this coming week is a TTAC meeting and so forth, so keeping busy and interacting with the public.
All right, Councilor Lube.
Yeah, so to echo Councilor Newton and Council President Goodhouse, you know, the interviews I think are always a great opportunity to really learn more and meet some more Tigard residents, and just I'm always blown away by how many people want to dedicate their time to really dig into city issues and to give back and help us make decisions. And so I just want to thank everyone who went through the process and who spent some time with us, and for everyone who's being appointed to give of their time to the city is fantastic. It's been fairly quiet, I think, between the last month and this one. Most of my meetings are actually this week and next week. I did have an audit committee meeting last week, and we had a nice lengthy conversation with the auditors to go through and review the financial audit for the previous fiscal year, which ended in June. And so I believe that presentation's to council next week. So everyone gets to hear what a great job our team did, which is fantastic. And I look forward to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting that I have coming up. I took the conversation that we had with the Budget Committee very seriously regarding park maintenance and, you know, looking at it from an equitable way. And in the November meeting, I actually charged them with that conversation and asked them really to dig in and talk about it and come to us in January sort of with a recommendation, or at least be ready for a discussion with us on how we should tackle that issue. So look forward to that coming in January.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilor Lube. I have a couple of updates. The Southwest Corridor Steering Committee did a kind of a wrap-up a couple weeks ago. It was I think a kind of a description to the rest of the members, or to the members of the steering committee, about where that project sits, and you know what potentially would happen if that project is restarted. And you know, right now it will be shelved based on the lack of local match funding for it. But that's what's going on. So the steering committee has basically been suspended for now. We had a Region 1 ACT meeting last night, and then we actually had not an emergency one, but an unscheduled one in mid-November as well. This is the Region 1 Area Commission on Transportation for ODOT. The reason that we had an extra meeting was that we were providing input to the Oregon Transportation Commission, who makes a lot of the ultimate decisions for ODOT. They were asking for input on their funding strategies for these. Basically, they run their major capital improvement programs on a 3-year cycle, and so we were providing input on the next 3-year cycle. which is like from 2024 to 2027. And I just wanted to let the council know that what I've been advocating for, based on our desires and goals and also on our staff's feedback, is really advocating for whatever strategies help fund jurisdictional transfer of Hall Boulevard. So I've been trying to kind of lobby and push from that perspective, and that's the input, and that input has made it to the Oregon Transportation Commission. So I feel good about that. I also wanted to let you all know that the West Side Economic Alliance is working on a strategic planning effort that'll be a short-term thing. They had a small group of individuals that they, from the private sector, that they were sort of asking and inviting to participate, but they recognized that they had no public sector representatives, and since 35% of the membership of WEA is public sector, they actually asked me to join that effort, and I've agreed to do that. So I think the first meeting is early next week, but I wanted to let you all know that. Also have a Washington County Coordinating Committee meeting next week, so I am not able to report out on that yet. And then, of course, we had our virtual tree lighting last Friday, which was very exciting. I got to speak at that, and that was, you know, I'm just really glad that our community is able to do so many of the things that are sort of tigered traditions, that we're not having to just give up on them altogether, and that we can adapt them to our current times. So that was an example of that, and it was great to have Santa and Steve D'Angelo participate. And so I will leave it on that note. Are there any other council liaison reports? Otherwise, we will break until 7:30. Anything else? Anyone's got questions? Council President Goodhouse had his real hand up, and then Councilor Newton will go to you. Council President Goodhouse.
I was going to echo what you said, Mayor, on the Southwest Corridor Steering Committee meeting. One thing that was said on that was just how much time a lot of those members had worked on the project. You don't really realize until you kind of listen to everyone. Councilor Dirksen had been working on that project for 20 plus years, 20, 25 years. I think Commissioner Rogers has been working on it for 2 or 3 decades. And so just the combined effort and time that's being put on that just really shows how much gone into that project, and how it's still something that's going to be really relevant to the area, and still, even though it's being shelved, it's still being worked on, or ways to see that we can still accomplish it or do something with it. So it was kind of a summary of what everyone did too as well. So kind of closing it and put it on pause, but it was a great reflection on what work's been done and how much everyone's worked on it.
Councilor Newton.
Yeah, first of all, Mr. Mayor, thank you for your efforts on Hall Boulevard. I appreciate it very much. And secondly, related to the Southwest Corridor, I was talking with Interim City Manager Nyland yesterday, I believe it was. I was wondering if it would be possible in the next few months to get a presentation from staff about, you know, we're doing a lot of planning in the Triangle and the downtown, that transit-oriented development, and those things are sort of related. So I was wondering if it might be helpful to look at how we're moving those forward. I would hate to do anything that's going to would preclude something moving forward on Southwest Corridor in the future, but we don't really know timing. So I may be the only counselor that's wondering, but we've got a lot of really good efforts in the downtown and the Tiger Triangle that are that were related to those projects, and I'm wondering if it might not be helpful to kind of have a briefing from staff on how we're moving forward, given the fact that Southwest Corridor is taking a pause.
So, Interim City Manager Island, can you take that as a request? Council, you want to hear a briefing on that in the next month or two? Okay. Council President Goodhouse, I assume yes. Councilor Anderson, you won't be here. Councilor-elect Shaw, I assume you're a yes too.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, we'll
So
make it
interim
happen.
city manager Nyland, any questions on that? Are you clear on the ask?
Nope, I'm clear on the ask. And as Councilor Newton mentioned, she brought this up in our one-on-one. So you will see a recap of the one-on-one discussions, but we'll make sure we get that scheduled.
All right, thank you very much. And it is 7:13. We will recess now until
Mr. Mayor?
7:30.
I
Yes.
apologize. Youth Councilor Calderon has raised his hand a couple of times. I don't think you've seen him.
I have not, and that is really not good on my part. I'm sorry, Youth Councilor Calderon. I did not get, in my haste to get people pinned on my screen, I did not get you pinned. My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just agree with what Councilor Newton says about TIAC, and I don't know if it was mentioned, but the first introductory meeting for PSAB will be on Monday, so that's pretty exciting that we're getting that started. But that's all I have for.
That is exciting, and I am going to briefly speak at the beginning of that meeting just to thank everybody for participating and in any event. Okay, Youth Councilor Calderon, I'm really sorry. Did you have other things or a liaison report you'd like to give? I'm realizing I didn't even call it on you for that. So.
No, I attended the SRO conversation, and then TIAC has just been working very hard. They were very sad that there is no volunteering with the tree lighting this year, but what can you do? But that's all.
Okay, thank you. And I apologize. I won't let that happen during the regular meeting tonight. So, and Councilor Lube, thank you for calling that out. Council President Goodhouse.
Youth Councilor Calderon just made me realize the other night I was driving by the Universal Plaza and when it was dark, I noticed a couple of the twinkly trees out there. So anyone watching from the public, I don't know how many more are going up, but we have a couple of the nicely lit trees out there in the Universal Plaza off Burnham down in downtown Tigard. So that it was a surprise to see and looks really great out there.
Agreed. All right, we will recess and come back at 7:30. Thank you all. Krager, please call roll.
Councillor Lube,
Here.
Councillor Anderson,
Here.
Mayor Snyder,
Here.
Youth Councillor Calderon,
Here.
Council President Goodhouse,
Here.
Councillor Newton.
Here.
All right. Let's see. Let's move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody mute your microphones, and Mike, please put the flag up on the screen. All right. Let's move on to Councilor staff. Any non-agenda items?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, staff has one.
All right, and what is that?
So this is regarding a joint letter between the city of Tualatin regarding Center Cal's evictions at Bridgeport Village. And we'd like to do that at the end of the meeting.
Okay. We'll make note of that. Let's move on to public comment. Written public comments were due by 4:30 p.m. today, and calling questions will be taken via phone by calling the number on the screen, 503-966-4101. City Recorder Krager, did we have any written public comment? I don't think I saw any.
Yes, I sent some out this afternoon.
Okay, hold on a moment. Normally I like to summarize those, but I don't think. Give me just a second here. Did other councilors receive them? No? Okay.
Oh, I could summarize if you'd like.
Okay, go ahead, Carol. Yeah, and I actually don't think we received them. I know we might have had one from a week ago, but I don't recall one. I don't recall seeing that today, and I stayed pretty up on my email. So please do summarize, and then I would suggest you resend them after the meeting if that's okay.
Okay, certainly. We received one from Sarah Serrata, who thanked Councillor Lube for her perspective on helping local businesses. She wants economic relief 5 money to go to our community and not large corporations. Chris Bentz asked if council has the ability to provide HEPA filters for the next year's fire season. Stephen Kramer noted that water customers are unhappy with high base rates, especially in regard to the 1-inch meters. And Monica Lamb wanted to discuss support for a petition to end COVID shaming and discrimination against minority groups.
Okay, thank you for summarizing those. One particular, I guess, for action staff, and I believe that we'll follow up because this came in as council communication. Mr. Bentz's questions about PPE for fire seasons coming this summer. Is that something that staff can follow up on? Interim City Manager Nyland?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we'll get that communication and follow up on that.
All right. Thank you. And we will move on to the next item on the agenda. Phone in public comment. Councillor Newton, I am going to mute you just for a moment. All right. Mr. Nolup, do we have any call-in public comment?
Mr. Mayor, at this time there are no callers in the queue.
Okay. Interim City Manager Nyland, is there any follow-up to previous public comments?
We do not have any follow-up at this time to previous comments.
All right, and Tigard High School Student Envoy, Caroline, I saw you log in earlier, so I trust you're here and ready to give us a report. We look forward to it. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Okay, so between the last meeting and now, we've had our virtual Veterans Day Assembly, which is just a video that we posted honoring some of the veterans in our community. We had kindness challenge cards, which are basically like bingo boards of good deeds that students can do for each other, like making your friend a playlist or sending a handwritten note to someone. We had a hand turkey contest on the Instagram story, which some of the submissions were very creative and took hand turkey very literally. And then we had a student council meeting to receive feedback from Tigard students just about the year in general. And then currently happening, one of our amazing English teachers, Ms. Madio, and her Avid 10 program were sponsored by Communicare, and they were able to donate $10,000 to organizations of their choice within the Washington County and Portland metro area. So they chose to give money towards organizations that help immigrants and refugees within our community, which is awesome. There is a display at the Washington Square Mall put together by our photography classes, and it basically just features Tigard students and some staff members and things that they're thankful for during these times. And then we have a new Instagram called THS Tiger Chow, and basically students are able to share their favorite recipes with each other, and we have some baking competitions going on. So right now the competition is like gingerbread houses. And then the leadership program is sponsoring a family this holiday season for the Durham Holiday Help, which is basically just getting Christmas presents for a family in need in our community, which is run through Durham Elementary School. And then coming up, we have the Winter Assembly, which is going to be a virtual talent show, so students can just send in videos of themselves performing for their peers. And then we have Winter Wishes, which is where students fill out a Google form asking for something like a gift or anything that they really want, and 10 students are randomly selected and their gifts will be mailed to them. And then on December 18th, we have a Fortnite tournament between Tigard High School and Tualatin High School, so students can just get together and play Fortnite with each other. And that's basically everything.
Is the Fortnite tournament have some consequences for whoever loses?
Not right now, but I will definitely suggest that.
I mean, if it were the mayors in the football game, we'd be wearing, being forced to wear each other's shirts and hats and stuff. But I don't know, you might want to think about that.
We will definitely take that into consideration. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your report out. Are there any council questions for Caroline? All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
As a host. Call in host.
All right, we'll move on to our next item on the agenda, which is an update from Police Chief McAlpine.
Mr. Mayor and Council, Chief Kathy McAlpine for the November dashboard. I want to respectfully request never to go behind Caroline again with all of her positive upbeats. I feel as though mine might be a little bit of a downer. With that said, and I apologize, the sign does say October, and it is the November dashboard. What we're focusing on is, again, as I alluded to the last couple of months, our property crimes are still going upwards, especially our thefts. We've contributed that a lot to just before the governor's freeze, when businesses reopened, especially our box stores. We saw thefts increasing. Also, this is a time of year when packages are delivered and we have our porch pirates. We're also seeing still a high increase in stolen vehicles. And so for those listening audience, I would just, again, during the cold, please do not warm up your vehicles unattended. We often locate stolen vehicles, but we are seeing people failing to stop and then basically eluding us at a high rate of speed, and we've elected not to pursue due to community safety. But we are seeing roving stolens
in and around Tigard, and we address them when we can. The other thing I'd like to draw your attention to is under arrest. And if you see the top line where it says CTA, again, those are the citations that I have been speaking about during the pandemic. You can see we had 30 citations where we arrested somebody and had to release them because they didn't meet the criteria of the jail. And again, I would submit that that is not a great deterrent for some of our folks and may be contributing to our continued uptick in property crimes. And last, and probably the most important is, again, we try and track when we're at minimum staffing. And you're seeing particularly on swings and graves, 60% of the month, and for graveyard, almost all of the time, we're at minimum staffing. We are now no longer immune to what our community is when it relates to COVID. We have been hit in the police department. We've tried to isolate, mitigate it, and we had managed for the first 6 months to avoid it. But we are hit with that. We have many people on light duty or remote working, and so that causes us to be on minimum staffing. So much so that we've even had detectives volunteer to work a shift. Is what we're looking at. And that we have also several that are on injuries due to work and other health-related issues that I won't go any deeper. The other thing that I will also mention is our intersection through speed. It continues to tick down as we expected. Most people are adhering, and it was reduced by 28%. So again, people are now aware well of it and are kind of abiding by the rules of the road. Other things I'd like to bring up is, as you know, most of you have been actively involved. We did have our presentation on the School Resource Officers Program to the school board and to both elected bodies in Tualatin and Tigard. That was well received with a recommendation to continue the School Resource Officer Program with significant modifications, and a steering committee that has yet to be identified. Is probably a good portion of the people that for the last couple of months have done a deep dive into this program. We'll come up with some recommendations expected to the board around April 1st. And so we look forward to having some great discussions with our youth and the community on what this might look like in the future. And then one other thing I would like to update you, even though this is November, I do want to update you since I did talk about the shortage of staffing. We are progressing very well on Levee Hiring. We have, again, one person in the academy who's about to graduate. We swore in a lateral officer yesterday, came from California. We have 2 new officers starting this month in December, and we'll start the January academy. We will hire another one, not until March, but we have at least, they've passed all the requirements, but the academy will not host a February academy, so we will not be able to get one until March. And then after that, we don't know if they'll have funding for any subsequent basic law enforcement academy until maybe the new fiscal year of July. We also have a lateral officer that we've given a conditional offer that we hope to be able to onboard. We still have 4 officers in the field training program, and 3 of them are due to be on their own come January. And so it is looking brighter. We also, every time we take a few steps forward, we do take a little bit backwards. We did have this month also a senior officer lateral to another agency, and then 1 retire. So of the levy positions that aren't reflective in this report, but I wanted to be timely, is we have 5 of the 8 filled, not counting the SRO position at this time, and then 1 with a conditional offer, so we may have 6 of the 8 filled. And so we're progressing. I know that was a lot, and for our listening audience, this 4-page report will be put on our transparency page in the morning, that you'll be able to see what I've talked about along with the highlights. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Chief, that's fabulous progress on the hiring from the levy. I'm quite impressed. I thought that, both with COVID, of COVID-19 and just the lead time needed to hire, it was going to be quite a bit longer to be able to, even get anywhere close to having all 8 of the positions filled. So thank you for, I know you've prioritized that and, had to overcome a lot of challenges given the current environment and COVID. So thank you for making that happen. Other members of council have comments or questions?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also want to just say that I can't wait to highlight all levee officers at one time, because I think what you're going to see is a very diverse group in what they bring to the table, what they bring to the Tigard community, both in life and lived experience, again, a balance of laterals and entry, gender, ethnicity. I can't wait till you all get a chance to meet them, but also our community as well. Very proud of who we've been able to onboard and look forward to in the future.
I think I'm going to be interviewing one of the laterals for Late Night in Tigard, I recall.
Yes, you are.
Councillor Newton, you had your hand up first. Councillor Newton, you off muted and then ended up back on mute. Sorry.
Sorry, I'm having problems with mute today. I want to echo what the mayor said about the hiring that you've been able to accomplish. That's really impressive, and I'm really excited to meet everybody, and really looking forward to welcoming them all to our community. So great work there. I also wanted to pass on to our to everybody that works in the department, how grateful we are to them for hanging in there. I know it's rough right now. You're down and people are working really hard, and you're trying to juggle a lot. So if you could pass on to everybody there how much we appreciate everything that we're doing to keep us safe, and I appreciate the reporting that you're doing, and I know that you're trying to focus on the needs of the community, so appreciate that as well. So thank you.
I appreciate that, and I know those that are listening do appreciate the support as well. I will share, last week I did have a meeting with HR, risk management, and Washington County Health, because apparently anytime that you have more than one employee exposed, they want to make sure that your protocols are in place. And given the fact that we have a 24/7 operation and can't control where we go, it was comforting to see that our city policies, HR did a great job in making sure that we are adhering to best practices, and there was not much that we had to tweak to satisfy Washington County Health Department. So again, just a shout out to our HR department as well.
Thank you, Chief. Council President Goodhouse, question or comment?
Comment similar to what Councilor Newton said. I just want to say how a great job all the officers are doing. I know it's a tough time, not only with possible COVID exposures, but with the jails being full. I know it's a lot harder. There's a lot of repeat calls or crimes. I know that's what I hear a lot in the community. People are wondering why there's so much more crime, and can't say enough that we people need to be more vigilant during this time, because a lot of those offenders that would have been locked up are just getting a ticket and are back out there. And I really feel for the officers that having to go back out to the same calls, not having their hands tied. So I hope for a speedy delivery of the vaccine. I know that I think next couple weeks healthcare workers getting it, so hope it goes quicker, and our first responders can get that, and we can start working on those people that do need to go to jail can go to jail. But again, just to everyone, they're doing a great job, and we appreciate keeping our city safe.
I will do that. Thank you very, very much.
All right, any other comments or questions from council? Okay, thank you, Chief. We'll move on to next item on the agenda, which is a report out from the Tigard Area Chamber of Commerce. Community and Member Engagement Manager Love, are you present?
I am. Good evening, Council. Thank you for letting me be here again this month. I'm super excited to give you an update on what all's happening. Our Leadership Tigard program class met today, and they learned about human needs within Tigard. They heard from our medical teams international, Edward Center, also New Narrative, which is Luke Dorff, and then Chief McAlpine came and spoke to the class today. So they had a very good day, completely virtually on Zoom. We are urging all of the businesses to reach out to our federal delegates to ask for another stimulus package for businesses before the end of the year. So that's kind of what we've been focusing on. And then the chamber has put together a gift guide, a holiday local gift guide for people that are looking to purchase local for their holiday shopping. It can be found on the Tiger Chamber website, and all businesses are welcome to put their name and contact information on the guide. You don't have to be a member of the chamber to participate. And then we host our AM networkings every Thursday like normal. We only have 2 left of 2020, and that's Center Street Gold and Silver, and then UMA office is going to be our next host. For the farmers market, January is when we're starting to look at new vendors and start opening up our vendor applications. Our plan is still to open up on May 2nd and go until the end of October here in downtown Tigard. And then we are looking at hosting a virtual information session for anybody that's ever been interested in hosting or opening a business that participates in a farmer's market to kind of talk through the process. And then for Tigard Downtown Alliance update and what's going on here in downtown Tigard, we want to thank everyone that participated in the Small Business Saturday scavenger hunt and everyone that participated in our virtual holiday celebration week. If you missed the holiday tree lighting ceremony, it is available to watch on the Explore Downtown Tigard Facebook page and YouTube channel. Thank you, Mayor Snyder, for being a part of that. And then Explore Downtown Tigard Bingo is still going on. Members of the community can pick up their bingo card between now and December 26th at any of the participating businesses and try to get as many bingos as possible. And then we also want to give a shout out to 4 businesses that helped light up the downtown Tigard area, and that's Beach Hut Deli, Curiosity, Senate Game Bar, and Cooper Mountain Ale Works for lighting up the trees. So shout out to them. Any questions?
Thank you, Jessica. Any members of council have questions? Thank you very much for the report out.
Thank you.
And I appreciated being invited again to participate in our holiday tree lighting, so thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the consent agenda, which is used for routine items, including minutes, proclamations, and approval of contracts or intergovernmental agreements. Information on this item is available on the city's website in the packet for this meeting. Consent items may be enacted in one motion without separate discussion. Council members may request that an item be removed for motion and separate discussion and action. This evening, we have 4 different city council meeting minutes that are being considered, and that is all that's on the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. City Recorder, please conduct a roll call vote.
Councilor Lube,
Yes.
Councilor Anderson,
Yes.
Mayor Snyder,
Yes.
Council President Goodhouse,
Yes.
Councilor Newton.
Yes.
All right, the consent agenda is adopted unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is to consider acceptance of the Herring property donation. Mr. Rager and Mr. McKnight, staff report.
Mr. Mayor and Council, good evening. I'm Brian Rager. I'm the Public Works Director. And tonight I'm going to turn this over to Martin McKnight. We introduced him to you in exec session a while back, but Martin he is our park supervisor, and he's also, while we were recruiting for the park, recreation, and green infrastructure manager, he filled that in the interim position. So we really appreciate all the work Martin does, and he is going to take over this item tonight.
Good evening, councilors. Again, Martin McKnight, Parks Supervisor. I'm here tonight to deliver a staff recommendation for council to accept a donation of the 3.28 acre herring property into the parks inventory. The parcel is located southwest of the intersection of 95th Avenue and Shady Lane, and the herring property on its west edge is directly adjacent to the city's undeveloped Bagan Park property. The donation would allow for a trail connection and a second entrance into the future Bagan Park, and it would serve citizens in the nearby neighborhood, especially those who live between Greenberg Road and Highway 217. If you'd like, I could share a screen or whatever you prefer, Mr. Mayor.
I think for the public, it would absolutely be helpful to share your screen and show, you know, pictures are worth 1,000 words, so go for it.
Okay, I think we're up on that. You'll notice the orange outline is the Bagan Park property, which is currently in the city inventory. Again, an undeveloped park, but it does have a plan for development. So just directly adjacent to it, heading towards Shady Lane and Highway 217 over here near my cursor, this area is the 3.28 acre herring property.
Is there more to the staff report, or the staff recommendation is to accept the property, correct?
That's correct. The council would be interested to know that this is in an area of Tigard that is underserved currently with parks properties, and so we're quite interested in getting this attached to the Bagan property and making a nice spot for the residents of that part of town.
All right, thank you. Council, questions or a motion?
I would just say I'm excited for, and I hope we can extend our deepest thank you to Mrs. Hiring for donating this property. It's a wonderful opportunity, and it's really exciting to be able to expand park services if we can find a way to do it into this area of town. And so with that, I move to authorize the city manager to accept the donation of the herring property to the city of Tigard and take all steps necessary to complete the transaction.
I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. City Recorder, please conduct a roll call vote.
Councillor Lube?
Yes.
Councillor Anderson?
Yes.
Mayor Snyder?
Yes.
Council President Goodhouse?
Yes.
Councillor Newton?
Yes.
All right, the motion is adopted unanimously. Thank you.
I have a quick question before Brian McKnight moves. When a park like that is donated, do we ever look at or consider naming that park after the person that donated it, or are we looking at anything like that as far as naming that portion of the park with the donation's last name?
So to the general question, yes, we often consider naming when we accept the donations. In this particular instance, the Herrings have not requested that, but I do think it's worthwhile as the transaction happens to ask them if they desire such a naming. And there is a naming policy on the record that we would follow. That council adopted, I think, back in 2014.
My only comment on that is I would be concerned about having two, you know, depending on what happens with the Bagan property, having two things that are adjacent to each other with two different names, I think could pose some sort of challenges, navigation, and clarity of communication. So that would certainly need to be considered.
Unless we combine the names, make it a hyphenated park.
Okay, Council President Goodhouse, any other questions or comments on that?
No, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 5 on the agenda, which is to consider a resolution appointing Planning Commission members. Mr. McGuire, staff report, please.
Good evening, Mayor Snyder and City Council. I am Tom McGuire, the Assistant Community Development Director, and I'm here to present for your consideration a resolution appointing Planning Commissioner to vacant seats. And this year, in November, the Mayor's Appointment Advisory Committee met and interviewed 9 applicants for the 3 positions. Those 3 positions are 1 voting position and 2 alternate positions. And the committee selected Craig Shook to fill the voting seat, which would be a 4-year term. And Mr. Shook is ready to go, as he was an alternate previously on the commission, and so he would be moving up to a voting position. And the committee selected Asha Miranda and Darlene Dick to fill the 2 non-voting 2-year terms as alternate members.
All right, thank you, Mr. McGuire, and I believe that at least some of them are present tonight. I think I saw Craig earlier, so if you want to turn your screen on if you're on video. Normally there's some pomp and circumstance after we appoint you. I would hand you a tigered pin and thank you and shake your hand. All of that's off limits right now except for mailing you a pin, so I will ask the interim city manager to make sure that a pin is mailed to you. But the council needs to act first, and then if Darlene and Arsha are present, they can certainly turn their screens on or their cameras on as well if they would like. And then council, is there a motion?
I move to approve resolution number 20-57.
I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. City Recorder, please read the number and title of the resolution.
Resolution number 20-57. A resolution appointing Craig Shook as a voting member of the Tigard Planning Commission and appointing Asha Miranda and Darlene Dick as non-voting alternate members.
City Recorder, roll call vote, please.
Councillor Lube.
Yes.
Councillor Anderson.
Yes.
Mayor Snyder.
Yes.
Council President Goodhouse.
Yes.
Councillor Newton.
Yes.
Okay, resolution 20-57 is adopted unanimously. Thank you all very much for joining, and we will get you a pin and hope to see you in person soon.
Thank you.
All right, item number 6 on the agenda is to consider a resolution appointing Tigard Transportation Advisory Committee members. Mr. Roth, staff report.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. This is Dave Roth, Senior Transportation Planner. And there we go. I lost my screen for a moment. Okay, I'm here to present for your consideration a resolution appointing and reappointing members to the Tigard Transportation Advisory Committee. This year we actively recruited in both English and Spanish and reached out to our underserved community groups. We had 7 total applicants, 6 of whom were interviewed. 3 of those have not previously served on Tigard board or committee. The selection committee decided to recommend appointing 2 new members and then reappointing 2 current members. So we have George Brandt, who is a current TTAC member who's recommended for reappointment. David Burke, who would be a new member recommended for appointment as a voting member. Sarah Serrata, who is currently a non-voting member on TTAC, recommended for a voting position. And then Michael Hendrickson recommended as a non-voting alternate member to the committee.
Mr. Roth, are they, I didn't happen to see whether they were present or any of them present tonight that you know of, or were they planning on attending?
We invited folks, and I do see a couple in the little icons below. I can't tell you everyone who's here, though. I do see
Okay.
Michael Hendricks.
All right, so Mr. Brandt, if you're present, please turn your camera on if you'd like, and Mr. Burke and Ms. Serrata and Mr. Hendrickson. If you are online, please feel free to do that. And just as we had appointed the prior members, I would normally be inviting you up and shaking your hand and giving you a pin, and I'm sorry we can't do all that. We still appreciate your service to the Tigard community, and we'll be able to do that again soon. Again, I will ask the city manager to make sure that you receive a City of Tigard pin in the mail. That's what we can do now. And council, is there a motion?
I move to approve resolution number 20-58.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded twice. City Recorder, please read the number and title of the resolution.
Resolution number 20-58. A resolution reappointing George Brandt as a voting member, appointing David Burke and Sarah Serrata as voting members, and appointing Michael Hendrickson as a non-voting alternate member of the Tigard Transportation Advisory Committee.
And City Recorder, a roll call vote.
Councillor Lube?
Yes.
Councillor Anderson?
Yes.
Mayor Snyder?
Yes.
Council President Goodhouse?
Yes.
Councillor Newton?
Yes.
All right, resolution number 20-58 is adopted unanimously. Thank you all. I appreciate you attending tonight, and we'll get you your pin. All right, we'll move on to item number 7 on the agenda, which is considering a resolution appointing budget committee members. Mr. LaFrance.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Toby LaFrance, Finance and Information Services Director. I'm here seeking approval of a resolution appointing budget committee members this evening. Vacancies on the budget committee were caused by Tim Cadman and Clifford Roan fulfilling their 3-year terms. I would like to note that after filling three-year terms spanning 9 years, Clifford Roan did choose not to apply, so he's retiring from the budget committee, so to speak. So to recruit for the vacancies, our communications division did some extensive outreach. This outreach included promotion to the community roundtable, which includes 60 nonprofit faith-based leaders, featured in SOMO's Tigard Facebook group, highlighted board openings in Tigard Life in the Mayor's Corner, followed up with our 31 applicants who were not selected for the Public Safety Advisory Board. This was promoted to nearly 24,000 Nextdoor connections, over 7,000 Twitter followers, nearly 3,000 Instagram followers, and over 8,000 Facebook followers. It was spotlighted multiple times in Cityscape, which has over 29,000 subscribers, and our recreation newsletter. It was also posted on the City Hall reader board for 7 days. After all of that promotion, on Thursday, November 5th, the appointing committee of Councilors Lube and Councilor Newton interviewed candidates and recommended that Council reapprove Tim Cadman for a second 3-year term, and approve Jim Knowlton to a 3-year voting position as well. Additionally, Chris Mitchell is being recommended as a 1-year alternate for the Budget Committee. That concludes the staff presentation. And I do believe that looking at the attendees that Tim Cadman is in attendance this evening.
I think I did see him earlier, and if Mr. Knowlton or Mitchell are present, please, you may turn your camera on, and we would love to see you. Mr. Cadman, thank you for hanging around today. I know you joined at about 7 p.m., so thank you. And Council, is there a motion?
I move to approve resolution number 20-59.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. City Recorder, please read the number and title of the resolution.
Resolution number 20-59. A resolution appointing Tim Cadman and Jim Knowlton to voting positions and appointing Chris Mitchell as the alternate position on the Budget Committee.
And a roll call vote, please.
Councillor Lube,
Yes.
Councillor Anderson,
Yes.
Mayor Snyder,
Yes.
Council President Goodhouse,
Yes.
Councillor Newton.
Yes.
All right. Resolution 20-59 passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And City Manager Nyland, please make sure that those three, including Mr. Cadman, receive their tigered pins as is customary.
Of course.
And we will move on to item number 8 on the agenda, which is to consider a resolution to change the number of resident members of the Audit Committee. Let's see, Assistant Finance Director Isaacson and Audit Committee member Larry Atchison will present this item. Excellent. I love it when our residents are taking the lead in presenting to the council. I really appreciate that. So take it away.
Good evening, Mayor Snyder and council members. I'm Jared Isaacson, the Assistant Finance Director for the city, and with me is Larry Atchison from the Audit Committee. We are asking you to consider a resolution to make the expanded size and scope of the Audit Committee permanent. On October 16th, 2018, Council passed resolution number 18-46, temporarily expanding the number of Audit Committee members from 2 voting members and 1 alternate to 4 voting members and 1 alternate. It also expanded the duties of the committee to include reviewing the performance audit findings and performance metrics as suggested by the performance audit reports, review staff reports on progress in measuring and reporting the metrics as suggested, and report back to the council summarizing the activities of the audit committee and making recommendations for future audit performance audit activities. Now, the audit committee participated in the performance auditor selection, reviewed the findings and suggested performance metrics, and they have reviewed staff reports on the progress of implementing those performance metrics. On October 7th of this year, the committee met to review the staff progress report and form specific recommendations concerning the committee and the performance audit activities of the city. And now I'd like to turn the time over to Larry Atchison to deliver the committee's recommendations. Larry, I think you're muted.
Good evening, Mayor Snyder and council. Thank you. After our meeting, the audit committee recommended, number 1, we conduct a performance audit of utility funds after the Tyler Munis implementation. Number 2, keep the audit committee in its expanded committee format for greater perspective, ideas, and oversight. And number 3, implement the existing measures as presented and do a performance audit every 5 to 7 years. Those are our recommendations.
Well, thank you, Mr. Atchison. Those seem like very sensible recommendations. Councillor Lube, are you still the liaison to this committee, or is somebody else now?
No, it's still me.
It's still you. You have any feedback or input you want to provide on this as well?
I would just want to say that I wholeheartedly support continuing and making the expansion permanent. We have some incredible members on our audit committee that have brought some really fantastic insight, and it would just be a shame to reduce the number and reduce community input. So I'm in full support of continuing the amount that we have now.
And I used to be the liaison to this group, and I guess I feel like really this has become a much more valuable group and program in the last couple of years as the scope was expanded and the participation has increased. So I appreciate that. And with that, Mr. Isaacson, does that conclude your and Mr. Atchison's report?
It does.
Okay. So council, is there a motion?
I move to approve resolution number 20-60.
I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. City Recorder, please read the number and title of the resolution.
Resolution number 20-60, a resolution replacing resolution number 18-46 and making the expanded audit committee membership and responsibilities permanent.
And a roll call vote.
Councillor Lube,
Yes.
Councillor Anderson,
Yes.
Mayor Snyder,
Yes.
Council President Goodhouse,
Yes.
and Councillor Newton.
Yes.
All right, resolution number 20-60 is approved unanimously. Any audit committee members that are here, want to just thank you for your continued service to the city. This is a critical and important function, and frankly, the expanded role of the group is really important. So thank you all very much and appreciate your time spent serving the city. And with that, we'll move on to item number 9, which is to consider a resolution appointing Michael J. O'Brien, Judge Pro Tem. And I just am wondering if we feel like he's qualified, but Director Robinson, you want to, for the public watching, he's served as our full-time judge for nearly 30 years. So anyway, staff report, Director Robinson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Nadine Robinson. I'm the Central Services Director. With me tonight is Tigard's Municipal Judge Michael O'Brien. So before you for consideration is a resolution that, if passed, will appoint Judge O'Brien as a pro tem judge effective January 1st, 2021. As you're aware, Judge O'Brien proffered his resignation as senior judge in September. That will be effective on January 1st, 2021. But prior to his resignation, he was invited to participate on the Public Safety Advisory Board. With his resignation, we had to decide whether it would be better to have the new judge coming in serve on that board, or if Judge O'Brien's experience over the last 30 years, would be more of a benefit to the board. And after discussion, it was recognized that his extensive experience working not only with the police department, but with also departments, leading the court, and then hearing the cases that get brought into our court all the time would really bring value to the process. So with passage of this resolution, Judge O'Brien would be able to represent the court's perspective on the Public Safety Advisory Board, as well as sit on the bench. And we expect Judge O'Brien's commitment to be more than 10 hours per month. The city right now has 2 pro tem judges, so adding Judge O'Brien as a pro tem judge gives us just more flexibility when that regular judge might not be available. Before you consider passage of the resolution appointing Mr. O'Brien as a pro tem judge, I'm happy to answer any of your questions. I believe he's on the call with me as well. So Judge O'Brien, do you want to say hi?
I was just going to say, Judge O'Brien, do you want to say anything before we, potentially pepper you and Director Robinson with questions?
Mr. Nollop, do you see him?
I was just looking and I do not see him on the call.
Okay. So questions for Director Robinson? Any council questions or a motion?
I move to approve resolution number 20-61.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved. City Recorder, the number and title of the resolution.
Resolution number 20-61, a resolution appointing Michael J. O'Brien as Tigard Municipal Court Judge pro tempore.
And a roll call vote.
Councillor Lube,
Yes.
Councillor Anderson,
Yes.
Mayor Snyder,
Yes.
Council President Goodhouse,
Yes.
Councillor Newton.
Yes.
All right. Resolution 20-61 is adopted unanimously. Thank you very much. And Director Robinson, thanks for making that happen. I think this will be really helpful to the Public Safety Advisory Board, and also just having him available to mentor and be a resource, I think, is important for at least the short term, and I appreciate his willingness to do so.
Thank you. I see he just joined us.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to echo what you said. I'm really pleased that staff offered this up. I think he'll be a great addition because of his relationships with community members, his history with the court and our staff, and as the council representative to the Public Safety Advisory Board, I think he'll bring some good perspective to the board. So thanks again.
So Judge O'Brien, we have already appointed you. We were hoping, I think we're running a little early, which probably is causing the scheduling challenge, but if you would like to say anything briefly, the council has now already acted and appointed you pro tem, but did you want to say a few words?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. The problem was not your early start on this agenda item, but my inability to get the laptop to function on video. So I'm on my phone and finally getting through. I appreciate your confidence in appointing me to this position. I'm excited for many reasons, but among them is not having to sever my ties to Tigard completely as I go into semi-retirement. So I'm very happy to answer any questions you have meantime.
Well, thank you. Council, any questions for the judge? Thank you for everything you've done for our community over the last 30 years, and your willingness to continue giving us a little bit is much appreciated. So thank you.
It's been my privilege. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
All right, we'll move on to item number 10 on the agenda, which is to receive a briefing on the Business License Support Program. Mr. Purdy.
Good evening, Council. My name is Lloyd Purdy. I'm the city's Economic Development Manager, and I'm here to talk to you about a limited business license fee waiver program. It's a new economic development initiative, and this is your first introduction to it. My request is for you to ask me questions if you have them about the program, and then in fact ask me to come back to you in January, where I would present an ordinance and a resolution that would change the Tigard Municipal Code and the Master Fee and Charges Schedule in order to implement this limited business license fee waiver program. So this is your first introduction. The real action would take place at the next presentation. I'd like to tell you very briefly a little bit about this program in summary. It's an idea that we have that would encourage entrepreneurs to seek out business assistance from one of our business assistance advising partners. And the incentive is through a one-time, one-year business license fee waiver for those business owners that complete a training within their first year of business in Tigard. I'm excited about this program because while it's inclusive and any new business can participate, it also supports historically underserved entrepreneurs of color who choose to work with business advising partners like Adelante Mujeres, BISO, Hacienda, to develop their business skills and network. Yet it's also welcoming to businesses that want to work with traditional advising partners like SCORE and SBDC. We're proposing to run this program for 3 years in order to collect data on participation rates and program cost. And then we would again modify the master fee and charges schedule accordingly to make the program revenue neutral. This economic development program is consistent with your direction to incorporate equity into a wide range of city programs and consistent with the City of Tigard's equity-focused strategic vision. I would summarize my quick summary here with the statement that it's our recommendation that we move forward with this program. I'm happy to entertain any questions or answer any questions you have based on the AIS, the agenda item summary before you. And I can pause now to see if there are any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Purdy. Youth Councilor Calderon, any questions or comments?
I'm questions.
Councilor Newton.
Oh shoot, I didn't get miss one question, Mr. Purdy. You talked about having to change the municipal code. Can you explain the reasoning behind that? I think it's a great idea, by the way. I think it's a great initiative, but could you explain what needs to happen to the code?
Yes, Councilwoman Newton, our business license program is written in to the TMC, the Tigard Municipal Code. I can't cite right now the chapter and verse, but I've actually already drafted the change of language. So the business license program is codified. And in order to make changes or provide a waiver, we'd have to make an addition to that. So we would make an amendment to the TMC, adding a provision for this program. So it's a little bit unusual.
Right. So it's really, I'm sorry to interrupt. It's really, I knew it was in the code. So the issue really becomes the waiver in terms of the business license code. So that's really the issue because we're allowing this waiver. Is that really what's at the heart of the matter?
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Council President Goodhouse.
I don't know if we have the data. Do you know how many new businesses normally we have every year? I mean, how many we might be looking at, but what's the average we usually have?
Good question, Council President Goodhouse. I don't have exact numbers right now. I know because Liz Newton distributes the roster monthly that it ranges. Some months will have as few as 8 new business license registrants. Some months will have above 20. So that's the range on any given month of who might participate. But I also know that most businesses do not take that extra step of going through a training program, an advising program. They don't go through this extra step that helps ensure that they will be more successful. So I actually don't think, even if we had just 8 businesses on any given month come to Tigard and open up, I don't think all 8 of them would participate in a program like this. We'll get fewer, but every business we can help, I think there's a value to that. And we're not spending money. We're simply foregoing a business license registration fee of $100 at the low end. Maybe it's a couple hundred at the higher end, but it's not a great deal of money.
Just to clarify for the public, you referred to Liz Newton. I think you meant Liz Lutz. And
yes, sir.
If we weren't in a public meeting being broadcast on TV and people being confused, I wanted to just clarify that. Sorry.
Our finance department, through Elizabeth Lutz, publishes a list of businesses who have joined the city any month. It's also on the city's website. It's available to anybody.
Councilor Anderson, any questions or comments?
Yeah, so the steps are the same as if you're applying for a license, right? You apply to the city, fill out their application, and then the city recognizes you as a licensed business, just like normal, and we can keep track of you. Everything's the same except for the application fee. Is that correct?
Yes, I guess the only difference is they have to submit some type of documentation from one of our business advising partners that they've completed a training, and I or whoever your economic development manager is would have to say, yes, they've sufficiently completed a training with a recognized partner. So we would authorize that waiver. But everything else, you're right. Same.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Councilor Lube.
I think it's incredible. Anything that we can do to lower the barriers of entry into starting a business here while also encouraging them to be even more successful with some additional help is fantastic. So thank you for coming up with this and presenting it. I'm excited to move it forward.
Mr. Purdy, is this based on, was this dreamed up by you, or is this a suggested action or something you've heard about? You want to highlight that at all?
A good question, Mayor Snyder. I wish I had conceived and thought of this. I would like to give actually credit to Ryan Wells, the Community Development Director in the city of Cornelius. He started this program in that city a month or two ago, and I said, we're not so proud or successful that we can't try to implement a good idea when we see it here in Tigard. So I'm very much borrowing this idea from somebody else who had it originally, and full credit to the city of Cornelius for being innovative.
Thank you, Mr. Purdy. I think you've heard from most or the entire council. I too am supportive of this for the reasons that have already been described by many, and so I look forward to the proposal coming back in January. Council, everybody good with that? I think you are based on your comments. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Any other direction you need on that?
No, if you're comfortable with the concept, I will return probably in January with a resolution and an ordinance. It will update the TMC with the appropriate language and allow us to update the master fee and charges schedule. And that too should be a quick meeting because you have this introduction here.
Thank you, Mr. Purdy.
Yes, sir.
And I appreciate the innovation.
No matter where it comes from.
I was going to say, and stealing good ideas from other places is just fine.
Yep.
All right.
One quick.
Go ahead, Council President Goodhouse.
Rather than being on the application process, is that going to also be something that we advertise so businesses will come here or people know about it too? So maybe ahead of time people thinking about it, so there'll be a pretty robust advertising of it as well.
Yes, sir. There's two components to that. One, we can promote this as a communication and through communications to businesses, and that there is that benefit. We will also rely upon our business advising partners, those agencies that we're working with. Whilst they're advising a business, they'll be able to say, and if you're looking for a location, don't forget there's this incentive if you choose to locate in Tigard. So yes, this has some other value to us, showing as many entrepreneurs as we can that we're open for business. We welcome them to our community. So yes, that's a good point.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to item number 11 on our agenda, which is to consider a resolution adopting the 2020 Water System Master Plan. Mr. Goodrich, staff report.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councilors. I do have a short presentation to try to bring up. For the record, I'm John Goodrich, Executive Manager in Public Works for the utilities and the direct responsible charge for the community's drinking water system. And then with me tonight is Shasta Billings-Beck, and she's the project engineer and the lead for the master plan update. And there she is. Hi, Shasta. Let's see here. So I hope this is going to work. Share screen. But I'm not seeing it. Okay, well, I seem to having some kind of technical difficulty here of bringing this up.
Mr. Goodrich, would you like me to present it for you?
Mr. Knoll, would you do that for me, please?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. So staff is requesting adoption of a resolution to approve the 2020 Water System Master Plan. Our project team provided 2 workshop presentations on October 20th and November 17th to provide an overview of the project elements with findings and recommendations related to the 20-year Water System Master Plan period. We also provided information to the Water Advisory Board on August 31st and October 14th and provided similar presentations. Purpose of the Water Master Plan is to provide an update to meet Oregon State drinking water requirements and improve the level of service to customers by reviewing performance criteria, resiliency and reliability, and prioritizing needs identified within the 20-year planning period. So the first part of this is that our system continues to deliver clean, safe, and reliable water to our customers' taps. The Water Master Plan took a look at the Clackamas River, the Lake Oswego Tiger Water Partnership, which are all fairly new assets that have been acquired by the city. And so those are, of course, in very good shape. And then took a look at our distribution system, which is really the Tigard system. That's the pipe, our pumping systems, water storage systems, pressure regulators, et cetera, et cetera. And then lastly, our ASR wells, our aquifer storage and recovery. These wells have provided service over the last 20 years within the city of Tigard. They provide both peak demand capacity and emergency capacity. And so while they're not a part of our specific supply, they are a major component of our strategy of providing water supply. Next slide, please. So part of the analysis was to look at the supply, the treatment. Both of those are in very good shape. The distribution system as far as an analysis of hydraulics, and then of course the ASR wells, taking a look at, as I had mentioned, those wells are slightly older than the rest of the system with Lake Oswego, and taking a look at the ongoing maintenance and other tasks that may be necessary to keep those serviceable. Next slide. So part of the water supply analysis was conducting both a hydraulic analysis and also a engineering review to evaluate our capacity, both our current capacity and future capacity, to assess the condition and vulnerabilities having to do with the types of risks that we may find within the system, especially involving seismic resiliency, and then to identify those improvements, both for the expansion of Lake Oswego Tigard capacity, how to mitigate those risks, whether we need new or redundant facilities, and then of course the future Willamette water supply interties that we anticipate in 2026. Next slide. This slide, I had a corrected slide. Let's go ahead and move on. This slide shows the types of improvements that are going to be necessary for the Lake Oswego expansion. So over the next 20 to 30 years, we have a strategy of how to meet both our current supply and our future supply based on growth. And part of that strategy will be accessing the other 4 MGD of available capacity that Tigard owns within the Lake Oswego Tigard Water Partnership. And this slide kind of identifies some of those projects that are part of that expansion project, starting with the raw water intake facility on the Clackamas River, identified as number 1, at the finished water treatment plant at number 3, which would include a large capacity finished water pump. Over by number 5 on the slide is Waluga pipeline. There's a pipeline between 5 and 6 that needs to be upsized for that 18 MGD capacity. And then the addition of a pump at number 6, which is Bedina Pump Station. Those are the improvements that have been identified. There's some other minor improvements that aren't on this map, but are identified within the master plan. Next slide. I think it's important to remember that Tigard in our negotiations and our partnership with Lake Oswego originally started with 14 MGD as our supply capacity. In 2013, we increased that capacity by 4 MGD at a cost of $20 million additional to the project. However, Tigard didn't have the capacity in order to access that 4 MGD because of certain bottlenecks within the system, and that our planning strategy had been 14 MGD all along. So another aspect of the Water Master Plan took a look at zone consolidation in the Bull Mountain region. We have multiple zones that form a circle around Bull Mountain. And this slide identifies some of the improvements in order to just improve efficiency, reduce some of the high pressures within the system, and also, very importantly, to provide fire suppression capacity to that 530 zone located there on the to the right of the slide. Next slide. Also, a part of the plan took a look at pipe renewal and replacement program. The City of Tigard does have a pipe replacement program line item. However, over the last 20 years, there hasn't been a lot of money assigned to that. As part of this master plan, there was some high-level analysis to take a look at our likelihood of failure and then the consequences of those failures. And then that's identified in this map using color coding to kind of show you the areas that are noticed in red are those areas that are critical or that the city should be looking at as far as their condition assessment and whether they are candidates for any future replacement. Next slide. Another concept of the master plan that they took a look at, our Murray Smith engineers of record, was the idea of a seismic backbone as part of a 50-year resiliency plan with the state of Oregon. Water providers and water supply systems are taking a look at critical systems and how to increase resiliency in the event of a seismic or earthquake event. And so this slide just kind of gives a background or an overview of the types of projects that will be necessary in order to develop that backbone over the next 20 to 30 years. Next slide. A major component of the master plan is to identify priority projects and cost evaluations over the next 20 years. And so the next 3 slides are going to show 5-year periods of projects identified. For this planning period from 2021 to 2025, our major focus is Reservoir 18, a new reservoir in order to serve both River Terrace and additional or our existing customers over on the western side of Bull Mountain. The pump station, we have a pump station that's aging out and needs a major rebuild for Station 8. Distribution mains, some minor projects there, plus the pipe renewal and replacement program. Some planning studies that'll need to be done or performed over the next 5 years. And then also taking a look at some reservoir and pump station abandonment as new facilities are constructed and brought online. Next slide, please. So then from 2026 to 2030, the major project that was identified here is the LOT supply expansion. We have approximately $5 million worth of improvements in order to gain full access to that 4 MGD for the Tigard system. We also talked about the other previous slide that talked about zone consolidation within the Bull Mountain area. And these are identified in these projects for the distribution mains, the continuation of pipe renewal and replacement program, a water system master plan, and then our water management and conservation plan are identified as well. Next slide. And then lastly, in the end of our planning period from 2031 to 2040, we're looking at an additional reservoir out into the western area as we see future development or further development in the River Terrace and City of King City, et cetera, that we anticipate over the next 20 years. And so Reservoir 19 will be a critical factor for water storage and fire suppression. And then some master planning and then the continuation of the pipe replacement program. So with that, that was kind of a brief overview of the major elements of the 2020 Water System Master Plan project. The staff is recommending that council adopt the resolution provided to approve the 2020 Water System Master Plan. The draft master plan meets the requirements prescribed under ORS Chapter 333. It also provides important information necessary for accurate cost of service and rate analysis for water customers and our system development charge methodology inputs for developers and future development and the costs associated with system development charges. With that, Shasta and I can take any questions. That's the end of our staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Goodrich. And, you know, this is for the public that may be tuning in, this is the final presentation to the council for something we've heard and been briefed on multiple times, frankly, in far more detail in a prior meeting in the last month and a half. So if someone's tuning in just tonight, you may think that this is kind of a gloss over of the content, but we've spent a lot of time on this already. So I just want to add that context. And with that, council, any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Newton.
Yeah, thank you. Really quick, Mr. Goodrich, I really appreciate, I kind of went back and looked at the report. I really appreciate the strategic approach we're taking to the long-term distribution and supply and all the different areas we're looking at, and also approaching the pipe replacement a little bit more formally. I think that's a good idea as we move forward in our systems aging. I do have a question about the resolution and Exhibit A, which is the summary, executive summary. I took a look at that, and in that executive summary, there are references to charts and sections of the broader report, which I understand, you know, there's reasons for parts of that wouldn't be available because of, you know, issues around protecting our water source. But I think it might be a little confusing to the public if they see that resolution with an Exhibit A with references to charts and sections of the report that aren't available to that exhibit. So do you think that's going to be a problem? Should we remove those references? Am I being a little too picky? But I just noticed that, and those charts aren't available as an attachment to Exhibit A. So I'm wondering about that, and maybe the city attorney has a thought.
So I would leave that to council's discretion. There are security reasons why we didn't attach the full report. Our consultants had to sign a non-disclosure agreement in order to work on this and compile the report. So we do take our security seriously. So we can certainly redact that. You know, it could be possible that if somebody really wanted to get a reference, that they could submit a public records request. Potentially what they would be requesting would be something that could be disclosable. So I haven't reviewed all the cross references to know what would or would not be protected. So that's really council's discretion.
And Councilor Newton, you just feel like it's confusing? Or it could be?
I think it's confusing, and I think the report, the executive summary would read fine with a lot of those sections removed. I mean, people can get information about our distribution system other ways. They don't need to see section 5.2 chart 8.1 of the report necessarily. So I was just wondering if it would be less confusing to the public if we remove those references. But if you're comfortable with it going forward the way it is, you know, it's not, I don't want to hold up approval of the plan. I think it's a very well done, very well thought out plan, and we've had a lot of information shared about it. So, but I just found that confusing.
Mr. Goodrich, do you have an opinion?
So, I think in terms of records requests or as such, I certainly understand Councilor Newton's comments and questioning of it. We basically took the executive summary the way it was provided to us by the engineer of record without making any changes to it. That included the abbreviations and also a table of contents, but from a staff perspective, we didn't feel that the table of contents had any sensitive information that would be available as such. Every records request would be reviewed by staff and the city attorney, and then there would be a determination as to whether the person who is submitting the request had a need to know basis or what that information was being used for. We do share some information with like the Regional Water Providers Consortium. We all sign a non-disclosure agreement. It's the water providers only. We provide that information so that at a regional level, if we had a major emergency, especially having to do with a seismic event that was affecting multiple water agencies at the same time, that there's a composite of information that would be available from a GIS system in order to help those people that were trying to respond and mitigate either the damage or the response to that earthquake. And so we do have ways of conducting our business in a way that still provides us with a level of security. But I agree with City Attorney that this is council's discretion. I would wonder if council decided that the exhibit needed to have redaction of the information that's in there that doesn't seem relevant or could be confusing as to whether the exhibit could just be changed, or that we could just make a reference that there would be a redaction of that information based on the city attorney's review.
Well, and I guess I want to clarify, I don't think Councilor Newton's objection is one about security. Her objection is more about just the level of confusion that it causes to be referencing things that aren't available to the public. Councilor Newton, is that accurate?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's correct. Like on page 21 of 26, we refer to something described in more detail in section 5.83, for example, and 5.83 isn't attached because it's in the report, and this is in the executive summary. So we talk about section 5.42 and exhibit 8.1 further down on the page. And so that's what I'm talking about. Again, I'm supportive. I perfectly agree with Manager Goodrich and City Attorney Rahala on the concerns about, that they raised, but I just found that a little confusing. I didn't really intend to delay our adoption here, but I just raised that because I thought if I'm a member of the public and then I'm scrolling through the resolution and I don't find that information, might I want to look for it, and where do I go, and that. So it was confusing.
Why don't we put a page at the beginning of it that just describes this, that it's a executive summary of a much more complex document that's not available to the public to protect the security of the city from terrorism, and therefore it's not available. And I mean, what do you think of that, Councilor Newton? Could that work?
That's fine. That's fine. I just thought, we could be headed down a road of confusion, and then we get a bunch of records requests because people don't know where to look for the documentation. So to me, it's just trying to clarify the report and the resolution, so to minimize confusion for the public.
Mr. Goodrich and City Attorney, would you rather have a single page at the beginning that just says all that, or would you rather have a change of the whole document to remove those references or redact them? I guess that'd be another option, though. There's no business reason to redact those. It'd be more one for clarity of reading and lack of confusion. So I'm just not sure where to head with this.
I think a simple note that says that that the full report is not available for security reasons, I think that more than covers it. I think redacting that starts to it looks sketchy when we have a bunch of black lines through things that aren't warranted. So I think for full transparency and protection of the final document, we just add a note that says that it's not available publicly.
All right. Other comments from council? Anyone want to speak? Please raise your hand or a motion. Okay, now I'll force you to make a motion if no one's speaking.
I move to approve resolution number 20-62.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. City Recorder, please read the number and title of the resolution.
Resolution number 20-62, a resolution adopting and approving the Tigard 2020 Water System Master Plan.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilor Lube?
Yes.
Councilor Anderson?
Yes.
Mayor Snyder?
Yes.
Council President Goodhouse?
Yes.
Councilor Newton?
Yes.
All right, resolution number 20-62 is adopted unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr. Goodrich, and Ms. Billings-Beck. Thank you very much for your hard work and frankly for our consultants who spent, I'm certain, hundreds of hours compiling this, if not thousands. So thank you very much. Pretty impressive body of work, and thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
All right, good night. We'll move on to non-agenda items. City Attorney Rahala, you had one?
Yes, thank you, Council. So this item came up as a conversation between Mayor Bubenak of Tualatin and Mayor Snyder, and then turned into a conversation between the city attorneys of Tigard and Tualatin. So you may have read in the news that CenterCal, the owner of Bridgeport Village, and a couple other malls and developments in Tualatin, is threatening to evict Regal Cinemas, among others, for non-payment of rent. This is, as I understand it, it is just beginning in the court process right now, with cross motions filed on both sides. The city's concerns, both Tigard and Tualatin, are that both of our jurisdictions have passed resolutions prohibiting commercial evictions during the COVID emergency. The state of Oregon had one, but it expired in October. So now the city resolutions are the only ones left. The city attorney for Tualatin and I have discussed that the state resolution certainly was much more enforceable in terms of teeth than either of our cities. There is a possibility that Regal could use our resolution. Tualatin's is a little stronger than ours, but could use that themselves as a private cause of action. In other words, that they would, that Regal Cinemas would use our resolution to defend in their own case, as opposed to the city of Tigard or Tualatin bringing a case against CenterCal. So the fact that legal remedies are not sufficient right now in terms of Tigard or Tualatin's ability to really intervene in this. We did discuss that, nevertheless, if nothing else, it violates the spirit of our resolution, that both of our cities have in place a resolution that, as a result of the COVID emergency and the extenuating circumstances, that we really believe that this is not the time to evict commercial tenants. We have one for residential also, but this is just specific right now to commercial. So the proposal is a joint letter between the councils of Tigard and Tualatin to CenterCal, basically publicly stating the city's disappointment with and frustration with the proposed evictions. Tualatin, their council meets on the 14th, so they have tentatively discussed this but haven't decided yet as a council. So the idea was to bring it to you tonight, see if you're interested, if there's any key points that you would like to make to CenterCal, and then the Tualatin city attorney and I can get together after their council meeting and draft a letter if that's the goal of both councils. So I'm happy to answer questions or get your feedback as to whether this would be a good idea and what you'd like to see in a letter.
I will just share that Mayor Bubenak and I both feel pretty strongly about this. Not that that, you know, is the only thing that matters, but I just want to share that there's pretty significant concern. And given that Bridgeport is in both cities, we feel like we need to be kind of out in front of this, and particularly the fact that the primary tenant that's in question is actually a Tigard, is in the part of Bridgeport Village that's in Tigard, is a concern. So council, I had asked the city attorney to sort of move forward with discussions, and then we discussed having this as a brief council discussion and to provide direction to both her and I. Thoughts? Councilor Lube?
Yeah, I fully support a you know, whatever we can do to encourage them to work with Regal Cinema and to keep them there as a tenant, because I, you know, it goes back to kind of the eviction moratorium and, you know, a lot of things happening at the end of December, but the pandemic isn't over, and, you know, we need to figure out ways to support the businesses and individuals and everything like that. And so, you know, I like Regal just as a personal individual, like that's where I go to watch my movies. And, you know, I certainly hope to be watching movies again soon and to be able to go. So it would be a real shame not to have them there. So whatever we need to do to support it.
Other councilors? Councilor Newton, you're shaking your head. You're a yes?
Yes, I am. And I agree. And I think, not to make the letter too long, but things I think about in terms of, you know, our city council is doing everything we can think of that's within our purview to help businesses right now. I also wonder, and I may be misspeaking here, City Attorney Brahala, but, you know, we're trying to be in line with what the state, our neighbors are doing in terms of, you know, trying to protect businesses right now. So I realize the state's expired, but we're sort of adopting what we're doing around what other agencies are doing. And so it's disappointing to me when we're trying to do as a city council anything we can. We just adopted a new initiative or gave direction on a new initiative to support businesses, not to do what we can to support them through this COVID emergency. So yeah, I would support it. And those are just some thoughts I have around my concerns.
Thank you, Councilor Newton. Anyone else? Anyone concerned about? Everybody would like to speak. Okay, Council President Goodhouse.
Yes, I think a letter is needed. But I think this also highlights and points out the a little bit of the that middle ground where property owners, where there's assistance for business owners, but I think that they're for our advocacy level, I think we need to get more of that support for property owners. You're looking at a situation where property owners don't have as much money, or if businesses, if the money that's being given to businesses, if that goes to the rent or not, or if it goes to pay other expenses. So I think if we continue in our advocacy to make sure that property owners are taken care of, you know, eviction helps the tenants, but sometimes that might put that extra burden on the property owner. And I know that's been discussed many times on different calls, especially the League of Oregon Cities with our federal representatives, is to see what can be done to help out these property owners.
Yeah, I mean, Council President Goodhouse, you make a good point, but at some point, and I guess I just want to point out how interconnected this is. So yes, Regal's not paying their rent, which means they're not paying their landlord, which means their landlord, if they have that property leveraged, can't pay their mortgage, which means the bank that has the mortgage isn't getting its money. Like, that's how the money flows. And every one of those groups is either hurting or potentially hurting, depending on what happens with each of the, you know, entities that's supposed to be paying their part of those agreements. And you know, so it potentially goes even one step further, all the way back to the banks. Councilor Anderson, did you want to speak?
And I'm in support of it, so just to close that off.
Yeah, I'm in support. What is the end game? That CenterCal is going to evict somebody. It's clearly a theater, and would they lease it out to another theater company who wouldn't be able to open either? So it's, you know, it's very confusing to me if they wanted to redevelop the whole area.
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, Councilor Anderson, that was another. I mean, I had the same kind of thought. Like, what is that? That would be. That's not that old of a facility, and if they're thinking it's going to be a complete knockdown and do something else with it, I just don't see where they're headed. And the movie theaters, you know, is sort of an anchor tenant and brings a huge number of people there. So I don't get it. Councilor Calderon, you wanted to speak?
Yeah, just like everyone else, I was going to say Regal Cinemas is like a staple of going to Bridgeport Village, and I mean, that's where we go to see movies, and I'm sure families all across Tigard feel the same. So I would definitely be in support of the letter. And I have the same thought of like, why would you evict a theater for no theater to come in? So I don't know what they're doing there, but we should definitely be trying to protect businesses right now.
Councillor Anderson, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, well, yes, I guess I'm wondering if Center Cal has accepted any reimbursements for lost business rents.
From you mean as part of the relief from the federal government or anything?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. It's a good question. One we'll probably not ever get the answer to, but but maybe that's part of the letter. Maybe one of the points in the letter, City Attorney Rahala, could be that, you know, if they're struggling, then they should be requesting assistance too, and not just trying to throw businesses out that that can't temporarily pay their rent. And I actually think the point Councillor Anderson brings up is, I think, more about this probably ought to be made in the letter. Like, not only do we not like this because it's not within the spirit of what our two cities have said, but it also just is super confusing and doesn't make any sense to our community. Like, what's the end game here? And since it's not a legal letter, we can say whatever we want. And I would suggest we kind of highlight the lack of logic there, or I mean, I don't know what they're trying to achieve. And that, I think Councillor Anderson put it well. Maybe they're planning to turn that into a very large, you know, toddler holding pen. I don't know.
That is a good question. I wonder. Oh, sorry.
Council President Goodhouse.
I was going to say that is a good question of what they're trying to achieve, because sometimes, as we know, what you see is not always what you know, what you perceive is not always, you know, is happening. Maybe there's some other legal reason why they're having to do that. Maybe that helps them with their loan. It would be good maybe to reach out to them as well and see what's going on. Kind of like we were just to see what's going on. I mean, maybe there's some reason why they have to, with their bank, say that they're going through that process, so they ease up on their payments or something. So I don't know if the city attorney, you know, is find out from Center Cal why they're doing it, or what the reasons, if there's anything else behind it besides just trying to collect the rent or free up that space.
Maybe we should invite them into a discussion with the city council.
That'd be good.
So we can understand what they're doing, because it doesn't smell like something we like right now. So maybe, to Council President Goodhouse's point, there's something we're missing, or something.
Yeah, I'd hate to presume that we think they're being the bad guys when, you know, sometimes you have to do that. It's similar like when sometimes with properties, eminent domain helps the person that holds a property with their mortgage or something like that. So sometimes you do different legal tricks or circumstances in real estate or in banking to help out on something. So maybe they're doing that, or maybe they are being the bad guys.
Well, nevertheless, I think Tualatin's perspectives right now, as it stands, they've got a PR problem at a minimum with us. All right.
And I'd like to point out that the Maestridge, looking at another property management, Maestridge has been able to give over, I think, $1 million in helping with rent assistance with their tenants, and they've been able to, in the same market in the same area, help out their tenants and keep their ones, and the ones that are struggling, help it out. So it'd be interesting to see why one property management company is evicting and the other one's helping out their tenants.
City Attorney Rahala, do you feel like you have enough information at this point?
Yes, thank you. So I will work with Tualatin City Attorney to draft a letter, and this would be for joint signature by the mayors of Tigard and Tualatin.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Interim City Manager Nyland, do you have an administrative report?
I do, Mr. Mayor. I do have a report. So just wanted to give you an update on a few things, let you know that we are continuing to work on the next round for the city report card, which is a priority and one of your council goals. The final version will be included in utility bills and will be in the January 15th issue of Tigard Life. We are also continuing to inform the community about utility rates that will be increasing in January to maintain our current investments in infrastructure. And as you can anticipate, we are hearing from community asking if this is the right time to increase those rates. And we are tracking the issue. We'll let you know how many people we hear from And of course, we're responding to those concerns immediately. Wanted to let you know that Unite Oregon, who we are partnering with, will hold a virtual community conversation tomorrow focusing on emergency preparedness. That online meeting takes place from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. and interpreters will be available in English, Spanish, Arabic, and Somali. As far as Public Works, they gave an update on the 18th annual Free Leaf Disposable and Food Drive. So at the most recent event, we had over 332 cars come through, 12 barrels of food donations were collected, $200 the library for history buffs, library patrons, anyone who loves Tigard can enjoy watching A Library Grows in Tigard. It's available on Tigard's Public Library YouTube channel. This video takes a journey through the first 50 years of Tigard's Public Library with photos, news reports, and other documents. So once again, our library is being really creative and innovative, providing services in a really creative manner. A couple updates on recruitment. So tomorrow, City Attorney and I will be having phone interviews with the first screenings for our new management analyst. I think we are scheduled to have phone interviews with 19 candidates. And we've also begun recruiting process for our vacant recreation program coordinator position. I know that that position is really important, so I wanted to provide you with an update. We are focusing also on process improvements for our recruiting and appointment process for our boards and committees. You heard some of the improvements at tonight's meeting when several of our presenters talked about how we go about advertising and promoting, really letting people know about these opportunities, striving to bring more voices into the conversation. And we'll keep you informed on those improvements in the first quarter of 2021. As far as holiday festivities, wanted to let you know that Main Street tree is lit up. The street trees are also lit up. And as Council President Goodhouse mentioned, at Universal Plaza, you will see the twinkle trees. And the Tigard Walks, a much beloved program, has transformed with this pandemic. And we are now offering a virtual experience. Joanne and her dog, Braun, provided the route with a GoPro. So that's being loaded onto our website. And as far as recaps from tonight's meeting, so I will work with staff to get a briefing scheduled about projects and how we are moving forward with the Southwest Corridor pause. We will make sure that you receive the public comments that were mentioned tonight, and we'll follow up with Mr. Bentz about the inquiry about the HEPA filters. We'll take next steps to accept the donations for Herring property. And I will make sure the city pins are delivered to all of our appointees to our boards and commissions. And we'll also add that paragraph to the water master plan that clarifies the references that were being mentioned so it's not as confusing. So that's what I have for tonight's report.
Thank you, Interim City Manager Nyland. The city report card, can I just ask about the date? You know, my recollection from a month or maybe month and a half ago was that December was the firm date. Is there a reason why it's not going out until January now?
I think it's because the issue, that date is because Tigard Life issue, that frequency has been changed, but it's going to be in the utility bill first. And the January 15th was just the date for that particular publication.
So the utility bill will be in December?
I believe so. And I will confirm that with the comms team. We'll see the first draft of it, I think early next week. So it's still on track, and we're already starting to schedule out when the next version comes out in June.
All right, thank you.
Of course.
Any other questions or follow-up? Otherwise, a motion for adjournment?
I move to adjourn.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded. City Recorder, roll call vote for adjournment, please.
Councilor Lube?
Yes.
Councilor Anderson?
Yes.
Mayor Snyder?
Yes.
Council President Goodhouse?
Yes.
Councilor Newton?
Yes.
All right, we are adjourned. Good night, everyone.
Night.